Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about why you probably shouldn't try to use the source and the target in the implied relation at the same time. If anybody has a working example of doing this, please comment below. I'd love to see it. But in this situation, this was probably the most challenging uh, example that I had to come up with. Mm, For one, because I wanted it to make some sense, but for two, because it, it's just an abstract type of thinking for me personally. So, anyways, let's get started. So, in this example, I was trying to get an implied satisfy to this test 3 requirement, which is a derived requirement in the previous or abstracted domain. In this case, for our example, we used the solution domain, which was refined by our test 1 block in the solution domain. And so I was trying to get an example working. And I did get an implied relationship, but as you can see, we have two unintended implied relationships. Later, I'll show you a more foolproof method to get this working, um, but I wanted an example that used source and target, so we're going to walk through this first. So starting at test 1 physical, we look at the source. It's an abstraction. We follow it source to target. Then we look at the criteria, which is refine. We follow that refine to test 2. And then finally, we go to target, which is a derive, and it is target to source. And then that gets us this finished implied relationship from test 1 physical to test 3. As you can see, test 1 physical to test 3. But you also see these two that we didn't really want in there. They make perfect sense though, because if you think about it, if we have a implied relationship all the way around, we also have a relationship from here to here. Otherwise, we couldn't have made this. So unintended implied relationship 2 makes perfect sense, but it's just not one that I was considering in this example. And you might find a bunch more that are not in your meta model that you do not want, and so that's why I don't recommend this method. And then finally, the next one is if you were to start with test 1 block, you obviously have a chain to test 2 through the criteria of refine, and then target to derive relationship to test 3. That's the first unintended implied relationship. So I hope this was helpful. This was, again, an example of using source and target. I don't recommend it. In the next video of the series, I'm going to show how to do this with a meta chain.